Hi, dear students. Welcome back to another session of Human Resource Management. Now we are in the session of 54, where in this session I am going to discuss the methods of performance appraisal. This is the chapter 5. Obviously, this is the last chapter of Human Resource Management. Dear students, knowing the many concepts and then contents of performance appraisal, particularly in the previous session, we know that the what are the objectives which is interlinked and then relating to the performance appraisal. Let's move on to the wonderful concept which is I taken into discuss, that is on the topic methods of performance appraisal. Here there are many methods are there, the modern methods and then traditional methods are there, that I want to discuss in the upcoming sessions, because this is overall look upon of the performance appraisal methods. I categorized three methods broadly, which is that I want to make the bird view of these methods. So before I am going to discuss what it is all about, the methods of performance, let's discuss about the introductory part of that performance appraisal methods, or you may call it as methods of performance appraisal. Numerous methods exist for gauging an employee's performance, and each has a strength and weaknesses depending on the environment. The following outlines some of the more commonly used methods as well as some of the recent developed ones that can be useful for various feedback situations. See, here the thing is that before we are going to proceed the main three broad methods of performance, let's have a little bit of that discussing about strength, weaknesses, and what about the opportunities, and also some sort of what do you call the threatens that what actually the employee is facing in the organization. By having these SWOT analysis, SWOT, if that employee is going to work in the work environment, definitely he will give a good performance, particularly in regarding to the performance appraisal, will also get a good profile, which will always leads by considering the fact of the what do you call the increasing the level of the production, and also the increasing the effectiveness of the competency, particularly in the markets, either it may be the domestic market or it may be in the what do you call the in the international market. So there are three basic situation may come appears to performance methods. One is graphic rating scales. Second one is behavioral methods. Number three is 2+2 methods. Let's see how these three methods will be worked out. Number one is graphic rating scales. This is one of the best method that we are usually using to get the feedback from the students, particularly in the college. See, from we will gauge from 1 to 5, where that 1 to 5 is 1 is agree, number 2 is good, number 3 is very good, number 4 is average, number 5 is disagree. So these types of 5 concept which will start from poor to excellent, we will consider in the graphical rate skills. Dear students, this method involves assigning some form of rating system of pertinent triads, which may be including for to get the what do you call the many issues which we are going to make bifurcation, particularly either it may be the rank wise or you may make it is a rates to that particular aspects is concerned. Rating can be numerically ranges from 1 to 5, which is descriptive categories, that is below average, average, above average, like that. Or you may call it as scales between desirable and undesirable traits, like from poor, good, better, best, or excellent. Like that, we are going to make it a bifurcation. As I said in the earlier, that is, we are going to make it out the agree, disagree, and then good, best, excellent. Like that, there are some points to be noted from 1 to 5, particularly we are going to using in this graphical rating method. A graphical rating scales can be simple to set up and easy to follow, but is often criticized for being a subjective one, leaving the evaluation to define broad traits such as leadership ability or conformation with standards. So this is what things could be in graphical rating skills. There are little bit of limitations are there. If these types of limitations will be carried out by the graphical rating scales, I don't think so. The performance appraisal could be a good one, or it could be becoming a best one. If performance appraisal methods is not having any such types of limitations or any drawbacks, then it could be superb to make it as a which is objective one. Objectivity and then optimistically that we are going to evaluate the performance appraisal, then it could be super. But the graphical rating scales is representing little bit of subjective one rather than giving objective. If it is subjective, because it is always a what do you call graphical rating rates rating scales, it is simple, and as usual it is follows very criticized because not having a good performance or not having a good result, particularly while we are going to appraisal their performance in the organization. See, the organization and the companies, those who are situated in the public sector or private sector, what actually they are expecting is that they know, it is the known factor that they will need a rating to give or to fix what you call little bit of salaries and to provide incentives according to his service what do you call years. The years of service, what the things could be considered for the betterment of to get the good performance, particularly in the organization. This method, how do you believe it or not, there are a little bit of confusion by the thinkers that this is not a good method to make it a performance appraisal, particularly that is graphical rating skills. There are, when we are going to analyze two concepts, particularly leadership ability or conformance with standards, then this method is, I don't think so. This is the standard method that the organization are using, but there is a little bit of somehow it is possibilities of what you call the performance appraisal from the human resource manager are to be designed and also are to be make it out accordingly. So this is how the first graphical rating skills has to be described by the many thinkers, and also I also followed in my many sources as a source of reference where I taken. So I studied this method, and then yes, it is subjective rather than giving objectivity while gauging or while what do you call evaluating the employee using of graphical rating scales. Particularly this is also one of the method of performance appraisal. Moving on to my second slide, where the other two methods of performance appraisal will mentioned by me, and then let's discuss number two is behavioral methods, a broad category encompassing several methods with similar attributes. These methods identify to what extent an employee displays certain behaviors, such as asking a customer to identify the uselessness or usefulness of the sales of representative's recommendation. While extremely useful for jobs where behavior is critical to success, identifying behaviors and standards for employees can often be very time consuming for an organization. See, this behavioral method is categorically differed from their attributes or their features or their characteristics. And then this method is also useful to get little bit of identification to what extent employee is displaying certain behavior, certain thinking, and then the thinking level, certain attitude in which there is such as a working in the customer identification is usefulness. And also it is useful for the sales of the representative recommendation, where extremely useful for the job. If that employee got satisfaction, the behavior is critical to success, because nonetheless the behavior matters a lot. And at the same time, identifying behaviors and standards for the employee can often be a very time consuming for an organization. This is what things could be there in the behavioral method. And then the second, this is the second best method for making performance appraisal. See, if the what I discussed in the previous session, that employee must always have to have the self-esteem, where self-esteem includes behavior, thinking, and attitude. See, attitude, behavior, thinking all together will be considered under this method while making the performance appraisal. This is the second method of performance appraisal as per sources that I collected in my reference. Moving on to the third method of performance appraisal, that is 2 plus 2 method. 2 plus 2 method represent a relative newcomer in performance appraisal methodology. The 2 plus 2 feedback system demonstrates how appraisals can be used primarily for improvement purposes by offering employees two compliments and two suggestions for improvement focused around highly priority areas. Creators like Douglas and Dwight Allen suggested that these two fellows, particularly Douglas and then Dwight Allen, suggested that organization can become more pleasant, more dynamic, more productive if the goal is employee improvement. This system can be provide significant benefits. However, if the goals are compensation changes and rankings, the system provides a little bit benefit to make a performance appraisal. This is the best method as per my knowledge is concerned to use the organization and the companies and also to the industries and firms, both established in either it may be in the private sector or it may be in the public sector. See, this 2 plus 2 method is one where the Douglas and then Dwight Allen also mentioned that it is two phenomena that we are looking towards from that employee improvement and then benefit and then pleasant and then dynamic, both from the two sides, and then offering employees compliments and then suggestion. Compliment is one we supposed to take from that employee. In turn or as a result, there may be a chances to get more good performance in an organization, or as far as the organization are concerned, there is a little bit of what you call the pleasant atmosphere, a dynamic perspective, and also a more productive. Which if you are going to make it out, then it should be a superb one when we are going to considering the 2 plus 2 method. 2 plus 2 method is one of the best method of performance appraisal, which will also improve the employee goals, where it will also signifies the benefits of the organization, where the employee made a good contribution towards the organization. However, if the goals are compensation changes and rankings, the system provides a little bit benefit towards the performance appraisal. This is what things could be when we are going to compare the performance appraisal, particularly in regarding to the notion of the development and then growth of the organization is concerned. See, if the organization are having well together with the recruitment policy or government policy, nonetheless there may be a a 2 plus 2 method may be worked out, and then behavioral method may be worked out, rather than comparing with the first method of graphical rating skills. Graphical rating or graphic rating scales, I don't think so that is give a best result objectively. That's why there should be some of the what do you call common sense used by the organizers, which will leads the thorough knowledge about that employee, which will intact the development of the employee, and also the growth of organization as well. Appraisal methodologies depend greatly on the type of work being done. An assembly worker will require a very different appraisal system from a business consultant. A significant planning will be required to develop appropriate methods for each business unit in an organization in order to obtain maximum performance towards the appraisal goals. See, this is how the intact the planning, either it may be the recruitment planning, or it may be the planning of human resources, or it may be the planning of the government. There may be a policy should be appears when we are going to make it a different appraisal. Appraisal methodology will always depending upon the type of work being done. So what type of work done by employee under that assigned workforce from the organization will be considered very much seriously, because recruitment and then selection happening on the basis of qualification. If that knowing the fact of the qualification of that employee, if they are going to assign the other work which is not related to his qualification, I don't think so the performance appraisal evaluating may be wrong, or it may becomes the what do you call wrong. It may be appears negatively to the organization as well. This performance appraisal, obviously assembly workers will requires a different appraisal system where the business consultant are concerned. This is significantly made out in the systematic way of appropriate methods for each business unit in an organization in order to obtain maximum performance in the what do you call in the performance appraisal, particularly in the organization. The performance appraisal maybe gauge the performance according to the strength and then weaknesses, which is depending upon the environment, not only the environment of the workplace, not only the environment of the organization, but also the sequences relating to the employees' strength and then weaknesses are to be considered very much. So this is what the things could be according to in my perspective. There are the methods that commonly used in the performance appraisal, particularly in human resource management. In human resource management, the last the concept after having a planning, after having the job design, after having recruitment and then selection, after having placement and induction, this is one the place that we reached out at the end, that to make performance appraisal and then better, which will leads the what do you call career of the individual what do you call profile, maybe tended to the towards the effectiveness of the organization. So this is how things could be. Particularly we will consider the three types of methods of a performance appraisal. This is broad category I divided. In the next session I will come up with the traditional methods of performance appraisal. So number one is graphic rating skills, number two is behavioral methods, and then number three is 2 plus 2 method. So these three methods are using in performance appraisal. So next one is this is the source of references that I already incorporated in the mini session, particularly while discussing the chapter 5. So this is the chapter 5, which is the last chapter of the human resource management, where we reached the session of 54. So this session 54 will always discuss the issue relating to the methods of performance appraisal. So this is the source of reference, dear students. Please follow these source of references that I followed to get more study material, and I prepared MCQs and then PPTs on the basis of these references. Dear students, please follow this for your kind information, not only for kind information but also to get knowledge, and also for the purpose of examination. Please follow this Ashwatappa A, Edwin B. Flippo, Gary Desler and Biju Varki, George Bolander and Scott Snell, Memoria CB and then Gonkar, and then last one is Subbarao, which is the beautiful books particularly on human resource management. So with this, dear students, I will stop here this session of session 54, where I discussed methods of performance appraisal. So if any comments wants to make, please make a comment for this video. I will welcome your feedback, because this is the session of getting feedback. This is the chapter is all about getting feedback, so I need feedback. With this, dear students, I will stop here. Bye bye. Thank you very much.